There's nothing like a cold autumnal day. It's Saturday 10th October. Slightly brisk this morning, cycled over. It's weeding time. It's weeding and green manure time. And that's a good way to get you out of bed in the morning. Nice warm bed, out into the cold. I'll soon warm up, I'm sure. I quite like it when it's like this. Things are going over, things are getting a bit quieter, so it's a time to do some tidying up, some cleaning, and then think about next year, which is what I'm already doing. No one's here, as you'd expect. No one else will be up here. It's about 7:30 in the morning. Right, the allotment awaits. Before I get stuck into the weeding, I'm just going through the chilies here. It's not been too warm this year, and it's been a bit chilly. So the harvest is not great. We've got tiny small chilies, but we do have one or two chilies, so I'm going to pick those before we go home. I think we might need to move this chili mound next year further over there into the sun. Have a quick look at the tomatoes as well. These are still doing quite well. If there's a danger of frost, I'm just going to strip it of all these tomatoes and bring them indoors, but at the moment they're doing all right. As are the leeks. I think they've suffered a bit in the rain, but hopefully they're going to perk up. And the hugelkultur bed, well, look at that, that needs a proper weed, so I think I'll start with that one first. I wonder if the people from the plane can see what a mess it is. Right, let's get cracking. It's amazing how different the soil is from the beginning of the year. People who watch the earlier videos will remember that I've taken that level down and put the spoil, as it were, over here on the hugelkultur bed, so it's got wood underneath there which is gently rotting down. I had potatoes in here this year, and I think that's helped enormously at improving the soil. It's so much lighter. It makes weeding a lot easier. I've pulled up a lot of the watercress just because I want a slightly neater back here, and I'm going to ditch the red cabbage because that's had a terrible time. Got eaten by pigeons as soon as it went in, and then all sorts of other animals came in and uprooted it. So that's going. What I'm going to leave here is the lavender and the rosemary. I think we did pretty well for brassicas in this bed. It's quite a damp bed. We had the cauliflowers here. So I made a start. Just the rest of this to do now. There we go, I've got one barrow full of weeds out of that patch. And I've learnt a lot actually, just digging this over. The soil on this side, the hugelkultur bed, is very, very shallow because I've still got all my sticks and things which need to rot down, despite putting all this organic matter on the top. So we can hear it crunching down. It's rotting down quite well. You see, it's still quite spongy, which is kind of cool. So the watercress did really well because it's got shallow roots. I think that's part of the reason the red cabbage didn't do well, apart from the birds. So I think next year, watercress and lettuce across this end, because it's quite damp. That's the other thing. This tree, which I was thinking of taking out, but I left just to see what it was like, sheltered all this spot, so the top of this was covered in moss. So I'm going to take that out, because that's not doing anything useful. What else? Bindweed. If you've watched my earlier videos, you'll know I've had a horrible time with bindweed. But I picked out maybe 6 or 7 roots full of bindweed, which is really good because this was just covered at one point. I don't know if you can see the robins are following me around, picking up the worms. There are a few more worms this time around. So I'm going to rake this down, and then we're going to sow the green manure. I've started destroying the cornfield. I had the green manure in, so the plan has always been to level this off. So I've dug it in, the barrier between the hugelkultur bed and the cornfield. There's a lot more work to do on that. And we'll slowly convert this into a big allotment with lots of space. I have a harvest for today, 1 chili. The tree's been cut down and I've made kind of a pseudo fence at the back just to keep the weeds down behind the bed there. I've put the green manure seed down and I might need some more, so we might have to, top it up later. The robins are still going crazy for the worms. It's starting to look tidy for autumn. I'm quite pleased with that. Time to cycle home, I think. And then I've got a wedding, so I better spruce myself up too.